Hey everybody, Rodamon here with a quick video of the RimWorld 1.3 changelog and the mechanics that it will impact. One of the first things you will notice starting RimWorld 1.3 is the ability to control the amount of factions that you have when you create a new world. If you turn off the Mechanoid hive and insect gene line, the game will warn you that the spontaneous threat variety will reduce and you may get fewer quests. Inversely, if you remove all of the human factions, you will not have any opportunities to trade with caravans, normal quests won't occur, and very few raids will happen. One of the most significant game mechanic changes of RimWorld 1.3 is the way that you manage your farm animals and pets. In previous versions of RimWorld, all you had to do is put a allowed area zone and restrict the animals to that zone. But that is no longer the case. In RimWorld 1.3, you are going to be required to make pastures and pens. A pasture is an area that is enclosed by either fences, which are new, or walls. Both will work. And then once you have an enclosed area, put a gate on it. You can also put a cloth animal flap. I'll explain what these are in a bit. Once you have these zones designated, put a pen marker. If you click the pen marker, you'll be able to see that this pen marker will allow you to designate what animals are allowed in this pen. So let's say we want to put chickens in this pen. If we go to the food tab, the game will calculate roughly how much nutrition this pen and pasture has. So this, being a medium-sized pen, grows about enough nutrition through the grasses that can be consumed to provide nutrients for about 0.92 meals per day, which supports approximately 8 chickens. Alternatively, you can also stockpile your areas with hay, and it will calculate that as well. So here we have 600 hay or 30 nutrition. Once you have some animals to tame, and here I will spawn in some chicken, you'll be able to round up those animals, which cannot be zone restricted, mind you, and put them into the pasture. Beard here will tether them and walk them inside. Your tamed animals won't be able to go past fences and walls, but it is very important to note that these fences do not stop raiders and they do not stop predator animals. Both are able easily to pass through these walls. Now, RimWorld 1.3 also has made it so that raiders do not necessarily target your animals as if they are colonists. So pastures are a pretty good way to have passive creatures corralled. However, if there is any wildlife that might want to do harm to, in this case, chickens, like let's say wargs or wolves, they will not be deterred by simple fences. Now, another new thing that you can build is an egg box. An egg box is where your egg layers are going to go when they want to lay an egg. And then the egg box will allow you to haul those eggs and bring them to a stockpile. Whereas previously, your chickens or any other egg layers would just lay eggs everywhere and anywhere, and it was a bit of a pain. Another significant feature to managing animals is the Animal tab, Manage Auto Slaughter. The Auto Slaughter feature allows you to set specific number of maximum of a species, and anything that exceeds that maximum gets culled or slaughtered. It will prioritize your oldest and most infirm animals, so it is a pretty useful feature. However, it does have a few bugs here or there, so your mileage with auto slaughter may vary. Before I go any further, I wanted to let you know that this is my own personal opinion about fences. So my own opinion about fences is that I find them to be very limitedly useful. Fences are very inexpensive, but they have ridiculously low hit points, and they do not stop predators or raiders, which means that unless you're very careful about how you use your fences, you will be regularly losing your creatures to predators such as cougars and wolves and wargs and foxes and the like. There are some isolated uses for fences, however. So if you have a castle wall surrounding your entire pasture, like some of you might build, of course you can use fences for the interior because the outside perimeter wall keeps your entire base safe from would-be predators. Another potential use for fence is if you have multiple pastures and you just want to separate them out. In this case, we can say hens could be on the left and roosters could be on the right, and that way we can use the very inexpensive fence to separate out the two barns and pens. So while I don't necessarily find fences to be all that useful in the newest 1.3 update, except for some edge cases, because of their low hit points and the fact that they do not stop predators, I will say that the addition of cloth animal flaps is very cool. A cloth animal flap allows your ranches to have an outdoor space and an indoor space. The advantage of an indoor space is that it can be heated to keep your animals from being hypothermic or alternatively heat stroke if you cool them. And if you have a toxic fallout, your animals will immediately seek shelter on their own. Animal filth has been dramatically reworked in RimWorld 1.3, which means that most animals generate a lot of filth on floors. To combat this, for barns, we're offered straw matting, which is a new floor type. Straw matting, in the description, reads, "It is cheap and accepts very little filth with only 2 hay per tile." The only major disadvantage to this is that it is incredibly flammable compared to other types of floors, and also really not that beautiful, but very handy when trying to corral animals. 2 other game mechanics of RimWorld 1.3 for animal handling is that you can release animals to the wild. Once released to the wild, there's nothing stopping you from retaming it, but I will warn you that releasing a bonded animal to the wild will upset the human that bonded with it. Additionally, you are able to sterilize your creatures so that you can stop them from having offspring. That about sums up the changes to the animal mechanics of RimWorld 1.3, and at this point I will cover some of the other changes. First and most obviously, the addition of beards. Another obvious change to the way your characters will look is the update to Bionic and Architect eyes. Here we see Beard with a gray and black Bionic right eye and a glowing yellow Architect left eye. Another awesome little feature of RimWorld 1.3 is the ability to assign your characters to always carry meds with them at all times. In the Assign tab, here we can tell Beard to carry either herbal, regular, or Glitter World medicine with him, and anywhere between 0 and 3, in case he needs to do medicine in the field. Additionally, the wounds that he has suffered will be more accurately rendered on their bodies. So in this case, he has a pelvis, femur, and right leg wound, and here it is roughly reflected on his body. Another little addition is when characters patch themselves up, you'll be able to see that they are patched up in those locations. Another incredibly helpful feature of RimWorld 1.3 is the ability to rescue people and move them around. So in this case, instead of rescuing or tending, I can say, hey, I'm going to carry Mr. Van Dyke, and then decide to bring him to a location which is maybe a little bit better protected, where then I can drop him and tend to him in the field. Another incredibly wonderful feature of RimWorld 1.3 is the ability to draft in a formation. Pick multiple characters at once and hold your right mouse button to then determine where you want people to move as a group in a formation. The goodwill mechanics have also changed in RimWorld 1.3. All goodwill changes are now multiplied when moving towards natural goodwill. That means that naturally my goodwill with Northern Lana here would be somewhere between 50 and -50. So if I was, let's say, in the -100 range, it would be far easier for me to improve my goodwill. And if I was at +100, it would be far easier to lower my goodwill. Each faction will have a different natural goodwill range, Rough factions, of course, will have negative ones, and gentle factions will have neutral ones. You may have also noticed that goodwill changes are now logged. If you mouse over your current goodwill, it will explain why your goodwill is the way it is based upon recent events. So here, as you can see, I let 4 of the Lagua tribe members die on my map tile, and I suffered a -20. Whereas I completed a quest for the Northern Lana, and I have +50. All of these changes to goodwill aren't permanent, as they will slowly decay over time. For humanoid breaches, it is roughly the same as it was for sappers in previous versions of RimWorld, but in this case, instead of carrying Molotovs or grenades, they're going to run up to your walls with a breach axe to breach your perimeters. Unfortunately, humanoids weren't the only ones given a new raid type. There's also a Mechanoid breach. When you get a Mechanoid breach, it will spawn termites. Termites is a new style of Mechanoid that is equipped with thump cannons. A thump cannon, as you can see, is a decently ranged but very low damaging weapon. It does, however, a lot of damage to your walls. Good luck. RimWorld 1.3 also introduces the concept of vegetarian and carnivore meals. A carnivore meal is not made of vegetables, but does require 50% more ingredients to craft. And likewise, a vegetarian meal does not require any meat, but does in fact require 50% more vegetables to craft. Mortars have changed in version 1.3 as well. Unlike previous versions, these mortars have a barrel durability. In order to repair the mortar, you will need to buy reinforced barrels, but the benefit is that the mortars are more accurate now. If you like the mortars the way they were, the classic mortars, you can go into your storyteller settings and then scroll down to the player tools, and you just have to click this classic mortars. It will make the mortars less accurate, but they will not require maintenance. Some special effects have been added to certain actions in RimWorld 1.3 as well. Using the research bench, you will shuffle papers around. Gun and mortar recoil has been added. Digging graves, chopping trees, sowing plants, and harvesting plants all have effects as well. Speaking of sowing and harvesting plants, wild plants start growth at 15%, up from 5%, but plants sown by the players start at 0.01. This means that wild plants are going to be able to sustain animals grazing upon them a little bit better than they did previously. But animals are unwilling to eat plants under 10% growth, meaning that your farm animals will not immediately eat anything that you sow into the ground. Herbivores have their hunger rate reduced by about 50%, and adult age is shorter. Gestation is also reduced. Toxic fallout buildup is reduced as well. It is much more easy to keep herbivores as farm animals. Some other quality of life changes to animals is that animals can be assigned specific beds, and also beds can be designated as medical. That way, you can do surgery on your animals more easily. Additionally, the animals that you slaughter will yield you more meat unless they're missing body parts. Missing body parts will net you less meat and leather. I hope this video has helped you understand the fundamental changes that have taken place in RimWorld 1.3. If you want more details, the changelog is in the description of the video. Best of luck in your RimWorld 1.3 endeavors. Farewell.